Church, Nicole got on my everlasting nerves, okay? From beginning to end. 365 days of this episode. I got my notes. I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. Alright, y'all, so to my returning church members, baby, welcomes, and to all my new people, please make sure to smash that subscribe button and to also click that bell notification so you are notified every time I decide to upload a video. Now, baby, listen, my outfit today is giving fast, footloose, and free, and y'all don't normally get to see it because I'm behind this thing, but listen, I'm so proud of my little gains that I got going on. Y'all better get into it, okay? I done worked all winter long for these gains, okay? A little piece of hot weather and y'all know people be ready to take off all their clothes. It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. I am getting so hot. Okay. Let me stop. I gotta go back to being dignified, okay? Go back to being dignified. So my outfit is given fast, footloose, and free, okay? But my spirit, okay? My spirit is given AMC theaters, honey, because when it comes to Nicole, silence is golden. Y'all ever seen one of them damn like Looney Tunes characters or those Looney Tunes shows where the anvil drops out of the sky and just falls on the main character to just knock some sense into their head? That's exactly what I was wishing for all damn episode when it came to Nicole, all right? Now let's get on into some hot topics, right? And let's talk about this couples event because there's so much to unpack here, right? And let's first and foremost talk about this whole mental health convo. Y'all, I just love the spotlight that this show puts on mental health because I think it needs to be talked about. You know, we are a society of people that basically operate in pain and we operate in silence and in the hiding of that, right? So them sitting down at the table and talking about just the various, interactions or the various proximities that they've had to, the mental health conversation as well as just suicide in general, okay? Listen, when you are sitting down at a table and 3 out of, the 10 people there have some sort of, 3 or more actually, because what it was Airris, it was Clint, and it was Chris, right? That each had a friend or somebody close to them that they knew that basically committed suicide, right? And then turns out, baby, Shaq, if you add him into it, he was the person that was feeling that way in terms of, wanting to remove himself from this life or whatever. So just a very eye-opening conversation, right, that they had down at the table. And so, listen, I think, in some ways, respects, and forms, we've all been there, okay? I can honestly say, I've been there as well, and that's exactly why I had to remove myself from, the whole accounting world, y'all. I always talk about that, my former life as an accountant, and I spent, almost 9 years doing it, y'all. It was literally like the battle of self, okay? And I totally understand how people are always having these internal battles and these internal struggles with themselves, okay? Because my life, literally, the recurring theme and the recurring thread of it is trying to find out who I am in a situation, okay? Listen, when it came to me and my sexuality and owning that, it's me having to be one way at home with the people that, know me and are supposed to love me. And in my private life, I'm able to explore who I am and go forward with that, right? In my work world, it's having to be this character, this person, from 9 to 5 down to these people accounting business, while in silence I'm coming home and I'm, crawling up in the fetal position and trying to get myself together so that I could try to, figure out who I am as a person, why I feel such conflict between what I do for a living and who I am as a person, okay? So I fully understood that whole mental health conversation. But y'all, I would just implore you, if you are having these thoughts, if you know somebody that is struggling, listen, as my therapist says, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, okay? And I know for me personally, y'all, I practice this thing called escapism. I'm not saying it's right, but I do practice it, okay? And my friend actually diagnosed me with it, my best friend, Mary. Shout outs to Mary. She basically said that, when I get stressed out, and I knew this about myself, when I get stressed out, I go to sleep, okay? It's just a way for me to quiet my mind, okay? So if you are out there and you are struggling with all of these thoughts, let me tell you and let me promise you that joy cometh in the morning, okay? It may not come tomorrow morning, but eventually a morning will come where it comes, okay? So do not make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And that's my, PSA for this mental health convo. Now let's move on to the whole Shaq Kirsten breakdown, right? And their whole consummation of their situation, right? So listen, the Shaq Kirsten breakdown to me in that moment, it boils down to something very simple, okay? Listen, Shaq wasn't feeling supported in the moment, all right? That's where it begins and that's where it ends. But if I'm going to play devil's advocate, let me say I don't put sole blame on Kirsten in this moment, okay? Y'all sat down at this table, okay? You sat down at this couple's table to have conversations, and whether subconsciously or consciously, y'all gave Nicole the moderator power, okay? And what is the moderator supposed to do? She sets the tone for the event, she makes sure everybody feels heard and taken care of, and she keeps the pace of the event and keeps it moving forward, okay? So I really don't blame Kirsten. You know, she said on the back end in terms of him not feeling supported, listen, when you started talking, I was rubbing your leg, I was rubbing your back, I was trying to be there for you, honey, and I just did not have, you know, the moment. I didn't see, I'm jumping rope, I'm doing jump rope, and I did not have the moment to basically jump in and basically say what should have been said in that moment, right? So I think there's blame on both sides, right? If we could even call it blame, because I don't really blame her. Yes, she should have been more forefront in terms of, you know, trying to comfort him in the moment and being the biggest voice that she could have, because that's her husband. But in all honesty, baby, listen, when somebody is the moderator of the event, sometimes you just sit back and you let them moderate, okay? So I could see both sides of that situation. Now, going on into the conversation, they start talking about, you know, Shaq being more assertive, and that's what Kirsten wanted him to be. And this whole topic of them consummating the marriage gets brought up, right? And so we find out that they have, you know, fully consummated the marriage. They have fully had the sex, and people started clapping and applauding. Y'all, isn't it so funny that we become so juvenile when it relates to people having sex, okay? Listen, once you find out that somebody doing it, it's a, ooh, the congratulations and the claps, okay? Listen, it's a normal human activity. I know it's big for y'all because y'all are on this show, okay? But they was just going up. It was almost like a pack of high school students, honey, going up for Shaq. Honey, you did that. You went to Pound Town, okay? So listen, good for them. I'm glad that they consummated it. My question is this. When did the consummation occur? Okay, because if you let them tell it, they said they was trying to keep it under wraps for as long as they could, okay? My guess is that it happened during that whole little, you know, painting the portrait on each other's body night happened, either that night or shortly after, right? So y'all drop down in the comments and let me know when y'all think they actually consummated the marriage. And listen, by the smiles on both of their faces, I guess that part of the relationship is working okay, right? Now let's move on to this whole Airris and Jasmine. I call it Airris and Jasmine breakdancing, but it's really their dance fight, right? Now listen, I'm all about calling a spade, okay? And on this channel, very often, I kind of play devil's advocate to try to see both sides of a situation, right? Now listen, y'all know my rule. Is the situation or is the occurrence steeped in malice, okay? If it's steeped in malice, then hold his feet to the fire, hold him accountable, X, Y, and Z, okay? Honestly and truthfully, y'all, no matter how many times I watch and rewatch the scene, I don't get malice from Airris's actions, okay? You know what I get? I get stupid straight male. That's what I get. Absent-minded, bewildered, confused, stupid, straight male. That's what I got from the situation, okay? Put yourself in Airris's shoes. I'm not getting the loving and the attention at home. You know what? Let me not even go down that road because that's giving him more credit than he's due, okay? Airris was in this communal situation, dancing with people, having a good time. A pretty girl took his hand and drew him to the dance floor. I don't even think that he thought about Jasmine in that moment. Stupid, straight male, okay? That's where it begins and that's where it ends. Now, should he have been better? Absolutely, okay? Should he have taken his wife's feelings into consideration? Absolutely, okay? But I do not get malice out of this situation, okay? Now, in terms of the breakdown and Jasmine storming out, listen, in the eternal words of Portia Williams, and I say it so much on this channel, when you do something to me, you don't get to choose my reaction, okay? So was it over the top? Absolutely. Okay. And in the days subsequent, when they were basically sitting down and talking about it, he said that her storming out made it worse. And it did. It did make it worse. And to me, the storming out is indicative of, number one, her being hurt, and number two, her not being able to vocalize her feelings as it relates to having confrontations in her relationships. Okay. So it's twofold in that situation. Did she go over the top with it? Yes. Can I understand her feelings in that moment? Absolutely. Okay. Because, as my husband, I should have been the first hand that you took to the damn dance floor. And even if she took you to the dance floor in terms of the instructor, you should have saw me there on the side and pulled me in, and baby, we could have had a little three-way dancing thing. Y'all know he already, akin to the orgies, the group sex, and all this swinging stuff, okay? So y'all could have held hands and do-si-doed in a damn circle, and y'all could have moved on from there. Now let's move on to our general couple updates. And this is a good segue into Airris and Jasmine, right? Now let's talk about Jasmine refusing to speak her mind. Y'all, I thought it was interesting when Devon Franklin came in, and shout outs to Devon Franklin. I thought he did an excellent job this episode, and he's a great addition to the cast in terms of a side relationship expert, right? But he basically sits down with Jasmine and Airris individually, and they basically just start talking about the breakdowns of their situation and, how they found themselves at the point that they are right now. And so for Jasmine, she basically is saying, she didn't learn those, cardinal rules of interactions with people, confronting people, speaking your mind, and XYZ, and that's why she refuses to say anything, or she holds things inside. Listen, the gag of the whole situation to me, baby, is whether you give voice to what's actually happening or you keep it inside, the net result is the same, okay? The relationship is still in the same place, okay? So whether you say that's what it is or whether you keep that information inside, the relationship is what it is. So you might as well put everything on Front Street, okay? What are you saving these internal emotions for now, okay? She basically said to the man that she was, in terms of Devon Franklin, that she was afraid of the response, okay? Whether the response is something that you wanted or don't want, the situation is constant. The situation doesn't change, okay? So whether you give a voice to something or you keep it inside, girl, your situation is what it is. Speak your mind and the rest will follow, in the eternal words of somebody that my mind is escaping me right now. Y'all drop down in the comments and let me know where that reference comes from, right? Now, when Devon sat down with Airris, they basically talked about this whole, he tried to make a segue between effects and effort in his work life versus his relationship life. So he basically said, do you put in as much effort in your work life as you do in this relationship? And he had to honestly tell himself, no, he didn't. Okay. Now listen, the subtext to this conversation is that your relationship life, yes, it should be work for you and it should be a job, but it shouldn't be something that takes that much mental energy, okay? Completely and truthfully, yes, relationships are work. Yes, you have to work at it. Yes, you have to put in the time. But when something just feels like it's not right, or they always say, listen, love shouldn't be this hard. Relationship shouldn't be this difficult, okay? And y'all relationship has been difficult from the jump, even if y'all didn't give voice to it in the beginning, okay? So would things change if Airris started putting more, effort in terms of how he puts down to his job and his relationship? I don't know. I just feel like when it comes to Jasmine and Airris, they're battling against time, okay? Given 6 months, given a year, maybe this could be a situation where they could work through it. But I think the pressure cooker of this experiment, it lends to an area where you're more, not susceptible, but you're more inclined to work things out, right? Given the general world, right, outside of Married at First Sight, I strongly believe that they wouldn't have the impetus to kind of work towards it as they have in this moment when they're basically being forced to confront each other at every juncture, okay? So, I say that maybe time will give this thing, legs, but I don't really know, because if everything stays constant and you remove the experiment from it, I think I think you then introduce a whole bunch of different variables, right? Because like Airris said, my life before her wasn't that bad, honey. Listen, if this don't work out, I could just jump right back into it. And I honestly think that's the mentality that he's proceeding with, even if he's not giving voice to it, just like Jasmine's not giving voice to the internal conflicts that are going on in her head, right? Now they sit down with Dr. Pepper for a come to Jesus moment. And y'all, I was 50% in the situation. I was 50% convinced that they were just going to be like, we're going to call it quits now, honey, and let these, next 2 weeks fall by the wayside, or whether they're going to try to work it out, okay? Now listen, I always say that, the opposite of love is not hate. It's indifference, okay? So if you care even a modicum, there's a shred of hope for the situation. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that attraction is not important. It is important. All my relationships, some have fallen by the wayside, or some haven't even gotten on the damn highway to success because I wasn't attracted or they weren't attracted to me, okay? And that's, period, point blank, that's how life works sometimes, okay? So listen, attraction can build for some people. It hasn't ever been able to build for me, but if y'all find value in each other in terms of your fringe benefits, then I think it's good that y'all recommitted yourself to this process, in a sense, for these last 2 weeks. And at least you can say, go into it realizing that I did everything that I could do during the period of time that I was given, okay? And if you can walk away from this process saying that, then you can walk away with a clear conscience, right? So if you still feel something in terms of Jasmine still feeling like, this could possibly work, and Airris kind of feeling that, maybe if he puts in more effort in terms of Dr. Pepper saying, listen, you can hug in the mornings when y'all are leaving, maybe a peck on the cheek, call her at 2 p.m. every day, set a habit, right? Little pieces of effort build to long lasting, results, right? So if y'all are both willing to work at it, even if it's not working towards a verifiable relationship, but just working towards a verifiable, better situation between you two, then I think it's worth it for these last remaining weeks, right? Now let's move on to Shaq and Kirsten. And let's talk about Shaq not feeling supported at his work events, right? Now, y'all, we talked earlier about Shaq not feeling supported down to the couples event, and, it's the recurring theme. I think the first half of, the first 3/4 of the Shaq and Kirsten relationship was based around Kirsten, okay? She made all the rules. He was basically trying to meet her expectations, and then after a while, I always say you can only be fake for so long. And I'm not saying that Shaq's being fake. I'm just saying you can only focus on somebody else for so long before you realize that I've forgotten about myself in a situation, right? And that's what we're kind of seeing with Shaq in real time. He's like, listen, I've worked so hard to try to make sure that your needs were met, then my needs are falling by the wayside, okay? And I need to feel supported in my life, in my career, and in my relationship. And if you're not fulfilling that, then I'm going to feel, some ways tired as it relates to decision day, right? Now, y'all know I will play devil's advocate, okay? And listen, my whole thing is this. I tell my friends often, and I have a lot of female friends, and they always come to me for relationship advice, which is funny to me because listen, my relationships crash and burn, but it's really because I don't settle for stuff. I feel like sometimes people stay in situations longer than they should because they're afraid of being alone, or they're like, it's 80% of what I want. Do I really want to give it up for the 20? Well, sometimes the 20 overrules the 80 in terms of something that you don't really want, right? But in terms of my friends, I always say this, okay? We teach people how to treat us, okay? We teach people how to treat us. And it sounds simple, but it's actually very complex. Whenever you're in an interaction with a new person, a friend, an acquaintance, you kind of set the guidelines and set the path for how that relationship is going to go, whether you realize it subconsciously or, actually consciously, right? You set the framework and the development for that relationship, all right? We teach people how to treat us, right? And so listen, I think what they're each having to do is having to teach each other how to treat each other. For Shaq, he needs that support from his wife, okay? He needs you to come out to the work events. He needs you to want to travel with him. He needs you to want to be his support system. And for Kirsten, she needs somebody that's going to tell her explicitly what to do, okay? Some people have that actual knowing inference in their head in terms of how to move forward, and some people are more, direct. I need you to tell me exactly what you want. Now, quick aside, okay? When it comes to that damn work event in terms of Shaq's past one, I have a very hard time of believing that Shaq wasn't explicit to her in terms of saying, I want you to come. Hell, he said, I had already booked the travel. We had already talked about it. And at the last minute, you start talking about you have something to do and you're not coming and stuff like that. Listen, I may have not finished my damn real estate exam and stuff, but I know that the damn real estate world is built on you working for yourself, honey. You are a 1099 contractor and you make your own damn schedule, okay? So Kirsten, please miss me with the whole I had other stuff scheduled, okay? Your life is very flexible as a real estate agent, okay? Yes, there are certain things you need to do, but between the two of y'all, education and the educational industry that Shaq's in is much more, it's much more stagnant than your industry as a real estate agent and you being able to maneuver and be flexible and make your own hours and etc. Okay, so I find it hard to believe that he didn't tell you explicit information, but I'm gonna go out on a ledge for you, Kirsten. Okay, listen. One of my favorite sayings, one time is a fluke, twice is a pattern, and by five it's a lifestyle. So this is your one, Kirsten, okay? We gonna believe that he wasn't as explicit as he could have been, that you need to show up to these work events and support him, okay? You get one, okay? If it happens a second time, it becomes a pattern. Now listen, moving on to Kirsten. Kirsten says, I am giving him support, but it just doesn't seem to be enough. Tell me what you need. And it goes back to what I said before. Listen, we teach people how to treat us, okay? So just as, Shaq is having to teach Kirsten what he needs in terms of these work events, Kirsten, you're going to have to teach him to be more explicit and more direct in terms of what he wants from you and what he expects, okay? And actually, I thought it was good when y'all were talking in terms of what you felt that you have done in the situation that wasn't being acknowledged, right? Now, playing devil's advocate, Shaq, Kirsten can't come to every event. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Yes, I said her schedule is flexible. Yes, I said her damn, real estate career lends itself to flexibility. But listen, if you got, 30 events where you got to, well, let's be more realistic. If you got 10 events where you got to be out of town, each year, pick the top 4 that you think that she should come to, the top 4 that are important to you, okay? It can't be a situation where every time you go out of town, she needs to be right in there shotgun, okay? Listen, I'm going to go out on a limb. She got her own schedule. She got stuff set up. Yes, it's flexible, but listen, I can't be with you every waking moment, okay? But I can be there for you when I can and in the important moments that you relate to me, okay? So this is a balancing act between y'all two, and there's some give and take on both sides, right? Now let's move on to Nicole and Chris. And let's talk about this whole notion of Nicole wanting space versus her silent reflection. Y'all, if I could reach through the damn screen this episode and shake somebody, it would have been Nicole, okay? Girl, what the hell are you talking about, okay? She's sitting down on the couch with Chris, and she talking about, if I say I want space and I need distance, then, give me that. But if I say, I have a lot of things to process and I need some silent reflection, then that means that you're supposed to, not give me that silent reflection time and actually try to ask me what's going on and inquire further. Girl, say what you mean what you say, stay 10 toes down in your mindset at the time, okay? A closed mouth doesn't get fed, in the eternal words of my grandmother, okay? Nicole, I understand that she's been through trauma and she has to unlearn bad behavior, but it is a very precarious position to put somebody in, to say that they're supposed to know, when you're saying that you want space, that you actually want them to come closer, okay? It's counterintuitive, okay? How am I supposed to know that this instance on this day at this time you don't actually need space and you want me to inquire further, okay? Say what you mean what you say, stay 10 toes down in your damn mindset, okay? Unlearning your bad behavior means you're going to have to start being your own advocate, okay? If you need help and you need support, girl, ask for it, okay? Now, there's a certain level of inference that comes to it in terms of knowing your partner, in terms of Chris realizing when she needs something. And yeah, there's something to be said about knowing that, you know, when someone says no, they really mean yes, and they really mean come closer. There's some aspect of that, right? But a closed mouth doesn't get fed. If you need support and you need help, girls, say that. And as your man, as your husband, as your partner, let me be that for you and let me provide that for you. But this whole thing of you supposed to know what I mean, even if I'm saying the wrong thing, no, okay? No, you are literally setting yourself up for failure, right? So that's the first instance where I wanted to shake this heifer. Okay. Let's move on to Nicole sitting down with Chris and what it was, Pastor Cal saying he didn't choose me. Y'all, Nicole, girlfriend, what is wrong with you? Okay, like what is it? I guess this is still like some form of a trauma response, but I'm like, yo, if you opened up the dictionary to basically what self-sabotage, you would see Nicole's face this entire episode, okay? You gonna mess around and talk yourself out your damn relationship if you keep this mess up, okay? So she says, he didn't choose me, but she recognizes that it's married at first sight. Girl, the thing about it is sometimes people, the more they talk, the deeper the hole they drag themselves in, or the deeper the hole that they bury themselves in, okay? If Pastor Cal had just let you keep talking, I think you would have talked yourself in circles and parabolas and damn, protractors. You'd have talked yourself 360 around the damn world, okay? He didn't choose you. Girl, this is married at first sight. The central tenet of the show is that what you were doing in terms of choosing a partner ain't working. So I'm going to give the grace and give the authority to these experts and hope that in them operating in their gift, they can find somebody that's meant for me. Okay, that's the purpose of the show. This isn't put 5 girls in a lineup and choose the one you want at first sight. Okay, that's not what this show is. Okay, so I don't know. It just didn't seem like a fully formed thought. I understand what she meant, but the gag of the whole situation is this: decision day is the day that he chooses you, okay? He may have not chosen you in terms of the beginnings of this process, in terms of the experts having their influence, but when it comes to decision day, okay, 8 weeks in, knowing all that he has known about you through this time and you have known about him, I am choosing you on decision day, okay? That is the choice that he will make then, okay? So if you feel some ways tired about he didn't choose you, girl, wait for decision day. And if he chooses you then, and if he says yes on decision day, you know that he chose you, and then you can dead this little, side thing that's going on in your mind, okay? You just be talking, the thoughts be going round in circles, and you gonna mess up and self-sabotage your ass out of a good situation, okay? Now, I say good situation based on this next point, right? Now, Chris and Nicole sit down with Pastor Cal, okay? And Chris basically says, the first part of our relationship was basically based on me, okay, in terms of his issues with the dogs and stuff. And he says he figured that out. He figured out his problems. Y'all, I wrote down, Chris ain't got no problems beyond the dogs. Nicole, consider yourself a lucky woman, okay? Because if all this man's trauma is based on making sure that his dogs is good, honey, under the lease terms, and that the 2 dogs that's gonna be present under the lease are his and not your one dog, girl, consider yourself lucky, okay? You are going to live a blessed and a charmed life, okay, if the entirety of his struggles at this point in his life is based on whether his dogs are comfortable, honey. Bravo, okay? And that leaves plenty of space for you and your issues to be unpacked. And this is not fully Chris's issue, okay? Yes, Chris can be there to support you, because it was an interesting conversation she was talking about in terms of her prior relationships and them saying that I'm not responsible for your baggage. You need to go unpack that and then come back to me. I'm double-minded on it. In a sense, you have to be healed in a situation or healed in yourself before you can bring somebody else in. People are always trying to go after relationships because they think that that person is going to complete them, okay? In the eternal words of Bethany Frankel, I complete me, okay? You are complete in yourself. Somebody else should add to your life, okay? So I'm not saying that Chris shouldn't help her dissect her problems and shouldn't help her, get to a better level of understanding in her situation. I'm just saying that it's not his sole purpose in life to make sure that, her mental health is good, okay? This is an each one, teach one, let's hold hands and get this thing done together moment, okay? You need some mental health services. You need a therapist on the side, and that in conjunction with this safe space that you found in your relationship should get you to a better level of understanding, okay? But listen, Chris has left a big runway for you to dissect your problems because all his problems were centered with them damn dogs, and as long as they both there under the lease, he good. Now let's move on to Gina and Clint. And let's talk about this whole slow burn situation. Y'all, much like Airris and Jasmine, when it comes to Gina and Clint, I kind of think that if I'm thinking about the relationships one-to-one, right, I see more potential in the Airris and Jasmine situation in terms of them eventually finding their way to a, not a love situation, but maybe like a dating situation, something deeper than friendship, right? On the Gina and Clint situation, y'all would need such a slow burn that I don't think there's any sort of experiment time frame that would be able to encapsulate y'all. Okay, like honestly, like this is a situation where, y'all semi-liked each other in the beginning, then y'all had a breakdown, and you've basically spent the remainder of your time on this damn show trying to just build a good friendship level. And it seems by all accounts that y'all have, right? So, I mean, kudos to y'all for that, right? Now, can a relationship develop from this? I don't know. You know what Gina and Clint kind of remind me of? It kind of reminds me of a situation where, you have a friend for years and he's dependable and he's always there. And, eventually you look up one day, 2, 5, 7 years later, and you're like, wow, this person has become a very integral portion of my life. I love having them around. They give me a lot of fringe benefits. I love their company, and something else develops, right? So y'all might be the right people for each other. It's just not the right time, okay? And I'm going out on a limb with this because I'm feeling very loving and very amicable today in terms of not just saying that y'all need to just stay friends and that be the be all and end all of y'all situation. But listen, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that maybe, y'all are the right people, but just it's not the right time for either of you. This is not the right space. Y'all need to build more commonalities. Y'all need to have more time together. And maybe apart from this experiment, given 5, 7 years, listen, hell, y'all probably won't even be messing with each other after decision day. So I'm going off on a major limb here, and y'all let me know if I'm just going too far off the deep end. But it just honestly seems to me like one of those slow burn situations where y'all gonna say no on decision day, but given the right opportunity down the road, all things remaining constant in terms of y'all continuing to hang out and build a friendship, maybe 2, 3, 5 years down the road, something could develop from that, right? Now let's move on to this notion of calling it what it is. Y'all, I like when the experts intervene and try to make these couples find, aspects of one another that could potentially develop into an actual relationship or a stronger connection beyond friendship. But I think that so often in life, strength comes from calling a situation what it is, right? Because when you call something what it is, you know what it's not, okay? And trying to get them to develop these loving feelings and these loving, connections in 2 weeks or less, I don't think it's applicable. Hell, I could be in a damn situationship and out by the damn 2-week mark. So I don't really think that it's feasible for them to create these situations and these feelings if they're not already there, okay? So I think, great effort from Dr. Pepper and great effort from the other experts, but out of this situation, just call it what it is, okay? Y'all developed a good friendship. Yes, this is married at first sight, but sometimes you don't get to be married at first. Well, you get to be married at first sight, but you don't get to stay married at first sight, okay? This may just become friendship for the foreseeable future based on a first sight. Y'all, I got issues today. But call the situation what it is so you alleviate the pressure of trying to develop what it isn't, okay? So valiant effort from Dr. Pepper, but What is my favorite saying from Girlfriends? Tony Childs from Girlfriends always said this saying. You are knitting a sweater for a dead dog, okay? And it may sound, it's not meant to upset the dog people and the PETA people and whatever, but it basically means you are doing an activity that has no purpose, okay? You're knitting a sweater for a dead dog. And I think that sums up what the Gina and Clint situation is, at least today and in this moment, okay? I'm not saying they don't have potential for the future, but they're really a slow burn situation if I've ever seen one. And y'all, I think that's really all I wanted to talk about on this episode. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, bring on the retreat. I'll preach to y'all later. Bye.